Hey, seventh graders, welcome to another one of our flip lessons. Today we're going to be talking about the Declaration of Independence. You should have your Independence Declared flip lesson sheet. There's going to be a lot of writing on these slides, but what you're going to jot down is you're going to jot down within the bubbles and within the lines anything that's bolded and underlined, and I'll kind of go through that as we go. All right, but here we go. So right now we're in that first box. When was the Declaration of Independence written? And the Declaration of Independence, long story short, was written in 1776. It was finished by July 2nd of 1776, but it wasn't really ratified till July 4th. So we're gonna go on the working title that July 1776 is when it was finished. There's some muddling with the actual dates of when everybody got signed, when it got to the king. A lot of people think we should celebrate July 4th. Maybe not so much. I'll put a video about that on Edmodo that you can watch, maybe earn yourself a little bit extra credit. But it went through multiple drafts. A committee was formed to write the Declaration of Independence. Thomas Jefferson, future president, pretty cool guy that we'll talk about a little bit later, was kind of the main writer of the Declaration of Independence. But it was finally finished in July of 1776. Who signed the Declaration of Independence? 56 people wind up signing the Declaration. And in actuality, a lot of the people who you think would have signed it didn't. People like, for number one, George Washington. George Washington did not sign the Declaration of Independence. He was a little bit busy trying to get an army together. But notable signers include some future presidents like Thomas Jefferson and John Adams. Benjamin Franklin signed, and John Hancock. You may have heard that phrase, give me your John Hancock. That's because John Hancock wrote his name so big on the Declaration of Independence. He was so pro-patriot at this time period. He wrote it so big that King George III would not have to use his reading glasses in order to read his name. So those were just some of the signers of the Declaration. And again, we got to remember that the folks that are signing this Declaration are basically signing their death warrant, so to speak, saying, if this doesn't work, you know, we're going to be considered treasonous traitors, pretty much. Where was the Declaration of Independence signed? Well, the Declaration was part of a congressional convention that was happening in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And within that Congress, they formed a committee to create the Declaration of Independence. The building that it was in was just kind of a regular run-of-the-mill building back then, but now you can go and you can visit. It's called Independence Hall. It's also where the Continental Congress, which is the government that we had during the war effort, is going to be held and going to be taking place. All right. Now we've got through all those circles, so now we're going to be writing into some kind of guided notes type things. So the Declaration is split up into three distinct parts. There's a preamble, kind of introduction. This is kind of how things are, how things ought to be, type of idea. Then there's a list of grievances. These are all the bad things the king has done to us. And then finally there's a conclusion. And they give them some fancier names, but we don't really need to know that. But the amazing thing about the Declaration of Independence and what makes it something that is studied by everybody from historians to legal writers to just fiction and nonfiction writers is the fact that it's an argument that works both forwards and backwards. If you read the document forwards, it works, right? This is how things are, or this is how things should be, this is how things are, we've got to declare independence. All right, that works as an argument. The opposite way, we got to declare independence because of these bad things the king's doing, and this is how things should be. That works too. And we don't know if that was kind of their intent in the writing, but it comes off as a really, really good argument. But the first part is the preamble, and it basically talks about the purpose of government is to protect the basic rights of people. So in that first blank, you're going to jot down preamble. Probably the most famous line is, we hold these truths to be self-evident. Two things that the truths. Number one, all men are created equal. Now, ladies, it does leave you out, but you got to remember this is 56 dudes that are writing this thing. We'll get back to you a little bit later. In a couple hundred years, we're going to be talking about a document where the ladies get added to this all men and women are created equal, but we'll a little bit getting ahead of ourselves. And the other thing is people have natural rights. Those are those rights that are just given to us that we have when we're born, and they list those rights as life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The big thing that they start talking about, though, and the thing that's going to kind of make some waves in the political world, both in the Americas and Europe, is what happens if the government isn't protecting these rights. And it's the writers of the Constitution that are saying, if their government's not doing this, the people can change the government. This is not something new. They're not coming up with this by themselves. Some guys like John Locke have been writing about this for a long time, and that's going to be heavily influencing the Declaration of Independence writers. So those are two things that we should be getting in our lines down there. All right, next part is the grievances. This is all the bad things the king has done, and we've kind of looked at those, and a lot of people saying he's taxing them again. And if you read the grievances, there's a long list of them. I think there's something like 42 to be total, but it's kind of a little bit redundant, meaning it repeats itself over and over again. Number one thing was taxes, 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 taxes. You read the actual grievances and you're like, guys, we get it. You don't like taxes. Not that you don't want to pay them, you just don't like that you don't have a say in them. So the big one was imposing taxes without consent of the colonies. We know that is taxation without representation. Number two, taking away the rights of the colonies to govern themselves, taking away those assemblies, taking away those town meetings and things like that, which happened with the Intolerable Acts. And then the third one that's kind of vaguely mentioned, but it's a big deal for the colonies. Remember, this is a mercantilist relationship. They can't trade with anybody else. And you're saying we can't make any money. Those are all those things: life, liberty, pursuit of happiness that we talked about, and that the delegates at the Constitution or the Declaration of Independence, people who are writing it, feel that the king is taking away. The conclusion part it basically starts talking about, and this is on the back of your sheet. I know the front side, back side, a little bit heavy. Turn it over. We'll get this jotted down. This is where the colonies formally say we're declaring independence. All right, and they also kind of go a little bit farther by saying not only are they already free, but they should be free of British rule. That's kind of a whoa moment there for a second. They're considering themselves, by themselves declaring independence, they're free. They don't think they have to fight a war. Obviously, they're going to, because Britain's not just going to lay over. But another fun fact here is this is the first time we ever get the phrase, the United States of America. It's the first time we get that. From then on, that name sticks. It becomes kind of who we are. Now, we struggled with the SOS, and I'm hoping that we can get a little bit into this during class today. But if we don't, really follow the directions here. First of all, the statement. You're rewriting that statement in your own words. You're not adding anything new. All right? Look at the words. Take out that teacher speak. Make it more 7th grade speak. Make it simpler so you understand what the statement is saying. Opinion. Circle whether or not you agree or disagree with the statement. Support. Use evidence to support your opinion. Think about the events leading up to the DOI. Think about your pages 34 through 35 in your interactive notebook, any of those events. All right? Make sure that you're also tagging that, okay? Bring that statement back down. Start your statement. I don't want to see I agree or I disagree or anything like that. If you have any questions about it, come see me after school. We can run a little bit of a workshop on it, all right? But if you have any other questions, if you're at home, remember, always send me a message on Emoto, and I'll see you later.